Hello, everyone. This is Larry Lewis again on the Mentors Lounge. This is a beautiful day, and for me to host yet another great person on the Mentors Lounge. My guest today is no other person than Victor Mamora. Victor is a phenomenal guy indeed. He's a co-founder of 26 Edge Media and also the co-founder of Happy Box Limited. He has been the strategist, the growth strategies behind many startups, many SMEs in Africa. In 2018, he was the media partner and panel moderator at the African Development and Investment Convention held in Switzerland. He has been profiled as a Forbes Africa contributor. He has well over 20 articles and 30 opinions that have been published in Forbes Africa, Business Day, and Time Europe. You are in for a really wonderful session on the Mentors Lounge today. So stay tuned as I bring you Victor Mamora on the Mentors Lounge. All right, so we have live and direct on the Mentors Lounge, Victor Mamora on this hot seat today. Like I introduced earlier, he's a great person. He has done very great things, especially for the growth and development of many startups and many SMEs in Africa. He's a phenomenal guy indeed. And so I believe that you are going to learn a lot from the chat with Victor Mamora today. Victor, you are welcome to the Mentors Lounge.
All right, it's a pleasure to be here, Larry Waju. Thank you for inviting me to the Mentors Lounge.
Awesome. So to start with, when somebody watches your interviews or the things that you've done, the question that will pop in their mind is, where did Victor get all this inspiration from? How did it all start, right? Did Victor just wake up one day and just say that, okay, this is the path I want to follow? What's the background? Can you share with us today? Let's meet the person of Victor himself.
Okay, all right. So basically, it didn't just happen by accident. I mean, it's intentional and it's deliberate. So many years ago, and then looking at the situation around us, and particularly I was reading Time magazine, and I saw the transformation that happened in Europe, in that particular edition. I think that was 2004. I read through that edition. I think it was August or November, within that period. And I saw the transformation in Europe, and I learned a lot, and I was inspired by what happened there, to the extent that I decided to write, a letter to Time to tell them that, I found out with your reading that the head of everybody is the capital of that person, of everybody. I mean, the capital of a city is the head of that city, right? And I look at it that truly the head of an individual is the capital of an individual. And I wrote them back and then, told the editor that the transformation that happened in Europe within that, space of time is as a result of people that have decided to fight against complacency. And from that period on forward, I realized that if Africa, if Nigeria and other African countries will be transformed like Europe, then it is not so much about financial capital inflow as much as, the level of our thinking here. And then from that period, I've devoted myself towards human capital development and how that really affects, startup and the growth of businesses in Nigeria and Africa. And then the journey has been tough and has been beautiful also. because that has given me opportunity to learn personally, and then it has given me opportunity to work with a lot of startups, SMS, and then, big organization in their back end. And interestingly, that letter I sent to Time Europe became the star letter. I mean, it was published as in my summary of their article was published in a color print and as the best, contribution they have received thus far concerning that. The record is still there in Time, that the head of everybody is the capital of everybody. As the head of every city or every country is the capital of that country. So if we can engage our head in thinking creatively, then we have enough capital to move the country forward through businesses and startups. So that's how it started. And then it has always worked. If, especially at every time that one engage the creative mind in solving problem.
This is interesting. Hearing straight from you, right, tells me one thing. That sometimes, right, depending on what you are exposed to or what you allow your heart to conceive, right, it will determine the next phase or how the next phase is going to be for you. For example, if someone like you didn't have the courage to say that I want to write a whole Times Magazine editor, if the mind has been like, who am I from one small place in Africa, Nigeria, to write the editor of Times, that lift, that shift won't have happened in your trajectory as a person. So, which brings me to the next question of, what do you think was the main contributor to you building that kind of mindset that you can interact with that kind of caliber of person? Sometimes there is this mindset thing that limits people, especially with respect to human capital, that limits them to say that, who am I to even do this thing? And that change is all they need to move to the next level.
Oh, that's important. I need to be clear about this, that I have mentors. I have people that I follow, people like Dr. David Oyedepo, people like Dr. Sam Adeyemi. Those two people, people like John C. Maxwell, right? I've read a couple of their works, and that has really shaped my mindset. As a matter of fact, when I started out, I started out with a global influence in terms of perspective. And when I found myself in Time Magazine with my name, and I brought my town into Time Magazine because, I wrote it from Ijebu. I mean, so, when I saw all that, I was fired up. And then, a couple of years later, I found myself in top business magazines in Nigeria, including Business Day, This Day. I've contributed in Punch. For about 2 years, I was writing in Forbes Africa. I mean, so those places that seems high became so low for me in my mind, to the extent that I could approach clients and tell them, this is what I can do for you. This is a way I can support you. And I mean, the feedback has been so phenomenal in terms of, I think the challenge with people is that there is that tendency to underrate what you have.
What you can do.
Because of your environment. You have a very high tendency to underrate your potential in a limiting environment. So if you have a lot of people who are struggling to move forward, to make decisions, to make things happen, irrespective of the strength of their potential of what they can do, if they are in a limiting environment, especially in their mind, they are not likely going to to have the natural force, required, to take the first step. So I think I have been able to overcome that inertial force in terms of, seeing things, from the global perspective. And interestingly, those were the years I would sit down in a library from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I'll be devoted to reading economics, reading, things that has to do with global economies, even though I was still a university undergraduate then, studying geology, studying art science. But in the course of exposing myself, it was taking out the limitation in my mind as a result of my environment. And when I move around, I see things differently because of that limitation that has been removed. So for me, it wasn't a big deal approaching, such a big magazine like that, and any other likes like that. I mean, I have A-lists, clients that are global brand, especially in my country. So, and I work in the back end, and every time I see, every time I look back at the conversation with the CEO of those companies, it helps me to realize that I'm growing. And it also helps me to realize that if you devote more time to learning and then looking at what is possible with people ahead of you, then your chance, of improving is very high. I think it just has to do with what we expose our mind to.
Awesome. Now, I'll be able to pick at least two things here now.
Okay.
There were some things that contributed to building or shaping the environment for your mind in growing. One, you expose yourself to mentors. You are intentional with the kind of things that you are feeding your mind with.
Exactly.
And you devoted time to study in that space where you wanted to actually become a voice. You were in earth sciences, where you wanted to be providing economic solutions to businesses.
Exactly.
And so you devoted your time to studying economics and all the likes, everything about growth in businesses. And so that expanded your mind to be able to have value for these people. I mean, those are really germane things. And I'm so glad that this is coming from someone like you, because at a time like this where, especially in the continent of Africa, where you have a very high population of young people, right? And they are just carried away by the social media and all the likes, and not concentrating on value. They just want to appear in the scene and do not want to give in the work. So it's good hearing from someone like you that, look, I did not just appear on the scene, right? That was the time of groundwork, and this was the time of groundwork. And it's very, 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 very important that this is coming from you. Now, my next question is this, right? Now, after, that experience with Time Magazine, how did you grow and evolve to build the kind of structure that you have today, that you now have? You're able to create 2 startups, you're running things now. There is a time of evolving and now stabilizing. What can you share as kind of insights on lifting, transitioning, right, from potential to actually the real thing? Because that experience, it must have been like a kind of light bulb in you that, oh, I can actually do something. How did you evolve? You now become a voice. Right. Okay.
Idea to market is something that is, it's something that can be tough and also exciting, because the process shapes you. So the first thing I would say is that you must understand that when you give value out, value comes back to you. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
So that is basically how the economy runs. So you don't get, you get, nothing for nothing, and you get something for something. And for every business that I started, I didn't start alone. So for me, there is limitation in terms of weakness. I cannot know everything. So basically, I've made it a principle that there is no business that I will start alone. And the reason is that I want to be able to leverage other people's expertise. I want to be able to leverage other people's value. So we started with a construction company. And then because I didn't do construction, I didn't know so much about construction, but I know about the business of construction. There's the business side of it, there's the technical side of it. So while I was working at my employment, I was learning because I was working with the top executive, the CEO of that company. I learned about decision making when it comes to, construction business. But when I needed to start, I decided to start, with someone who is a practical engineer, with a practicing engineer. And while I was providing strategy, he was providing the technical on the field, right? So we grew that business. Within the space of, I think, 3 years, we were able to make a sales of about, in terms of service delivery, about $40,000 thereabout. Even though I was in the employment and I was given a backup, right, until I fully joined. Yes, now I've exited that business. But over time, what I've learned is that for anybody who wants to build a structure, you must have it at the back of your mind. There is that part of that business that you cannot feel. And then the need for collaboration, the need for partnership, right? Because, one of you as a single person, there is a limit already at how far you can go. But with two people, you can double, right? So 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is still 1, right? So that's it. And then also, secondly, you need to, there's a concept that I learned in the course of my meditation. About, creating value and about running business. So if you look at the lines of figure and you look at figure 1 to 10, you see that the first time figure 1 appeared twice was when figure was with 0. And then in my arithmetic class in the elementary school, there was never a time we were taught that a 0 was part of the line of figure. So we start our line of figure with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But when we didn't do well in our exam, in our test, we could be scored 0/5. So for me, in that meditation, I was like, so where did the 0 come from? Right? So that tells me that 0 means nothing. So what that means is that if you come to market with nothing, you get nothing in the market. But someone who creates a better value by finding something inside nothing. What I mean by that is that what other people ignore in the market could be your opportunity. So I said, okay, that could be my answer to why 1 appeared twice with 0, and that made it, and we have 10, which makes 10 the most valuable figure in the line of figures for set, right? So add more 0 to 10, it increases the value. Then add pounds or naira or dollars in front of the 1, it makes a lot of difference. So it's the way the economy runs globally. When you see opportunity in where people ignore and you're able to create value there, then it means that you are on the path to creating wealth. So as an entrepreneur, where people complain, you should pay attention. That could be your best opportunity. And that's what I saw in the market in terms of, startup, because quite a number of the startup, founders can't go to business school, can't afford to go to, top business schools, even the local business school. So what I do is to support them, in the back end, read a lot of things, look at my own experience, the things I've learned, and then we look at problem solving together and look at how we can create value, because the market will only return value for value. That is the honest truth. So you being able to take a value to market is what makes you an entrepreneur. So that has always been a guiding principle. And that has always been, some of the things that, has opened doors for me when I meet a founder, a CEO. So I look at what is not working. Then I will try to find out why it's not working and what we can do to make it work.
Awesome. This is interesting. Now, the thing is, people wonder, okay, does it mean it has always been smooth? Has this person never had any challenge or anything that was like it shake the boat or rock the boat a bit? Have you taken a decision in this path, right, that went that south? One. Second question that is tied to that is, when you went south, how did you come back? Because some people go south and they don't rise again. So, that part is also very, very important on the mentor's land. We also want people to learn that, look, you may see somebody at the top, right? But it doesn't mean that the person has not had 1 or 2 or 3 failures. How did they evolve out of it? There is also a strategy that. So,
you see, it just reminded me of one of our big, losses. Okay. There are many challenges. I'll give you a practical example. We were to take a contracting assignment in Bayelsa. Bayelsa is south of Nigeria.
Right.
And then for months, we were flying in. Myself and my partner were flying in and then coming out, spending money, opening offices, paying the government, and then we spent something, close to $1 million. That should be, $1 million is a lot of money here in Nigeria for a startup, especially when
that's about $2,000.
That it was actually about $4,000 then. Wow. And I'm talking about 2009, 2010, thereabout. Naira was still far better than what we have now.
Yeah.
And on the day, we perfected everything. I mean, it was just for us to see, the clients, the government official that we've been talking with on the phone, and on getting to the door, to have the final meeting and then seal the deal with the commissioner. I mean, someone we spoke with just like about 30 minutes ago, we got to the door and told her that he never gave us an appointment. I mean, my partner was literally crying.
Wow.
With all the time, the money spent, I mean, what happened? We can't put our hand, on what happened. But we lost all the deal. The investment, the money we pay into government coffer, and then, the office. So we literally had to return back to the Southwest, Lagos, where we operate from.
Wow.
So for us as a startup, I mean, offering, support construction services with specialty in certain technology, that was actually imported from the US. So it was a downtime for us, but we did not stop there. And for us, we are faith people. And that is key for us. We are faith people.
Yeah.
And fortunately, about 1 month later, we got a call from someone in Lagos, Southwest, in a relationship that we've had a long time. And, we've been trying to push something with that relationship to get a service done for them. But it didn't work. And then we got a call after like about 2 years, and then inviting us for a project in Bayelsa, the same place we were denied. And then we returned to Bayelsa, to work for another client entirely.
Wow.
Right. So understanding your environment is key. When you operate in Africa, see, if you operate in Europe, where a lot of things are predictable, your business development, radius, what I mean by that is that the time taken for you to close a deal is shorter. But in Africa, in Nigeria, the time taken for you to take a deal is long. One, for different reasons. One is the trust capital is low here. There's a very high level of distrust, for you to convince people. So meaning that you have to be able to build credibility. The more you build credibility in this space, the lesser your radius for closing business deals. So that's why you see businesses that have traction. They have traction not because they have, product or service that are better than other people. It is because of their credibility. It's because they've been able to prove time and time again to clients that they will deliver to the specification, to quality, and on time. So if you don't have that around here, you are likely going to struggle, and you are likely not going to sustain your business around there. So that is what we've tried to do within that period, of operating that construction company. And that is a big lesson for me, right? That if you are going to survive here as a business, you must be able to make your trust capital as an equivalent of your financial capital. As a matter of fact, the poor credibility can erode your trust, your financial values. It can deplete your investment, within a short space of time. So you must be able to understand your environment where you are operating and understand the key things that drive businesses here. Here, there's a very high deficit of trust. I just have to be objective. But those companies that have been able to build credibility and are trustworthy are really catching on that opportunity strongly. So you have company in the same industry, one is declaring profits. The banking sector has that a lot. You see a bank declaring over 200 billion profit, and you see other banks, struggling to survive in that same market. Why? Because the consumers are at peace with some banks, but they are very, very skeptical about, putting their, businesses with other banks. So here in this environment, credibility, trust capital are two important, business, assets. I'll put it that way.
Awesome. Now, the next thing I want to ask you is this. As somebody who just starting out in the marketplace in a particular niche, right?
Okay.
How do you build this trust capital? Especially in an environment that is quite volatile, like Nigeria in Africa. How can somebody build that trust capital based on your experience? What are the things that they must do to build the trust capital? Like if you are to say that the playbook of building trust capital to do business in Nigeria, according to Victor Mamora, what will you say?
Okay, the first thing I would say is that refuse to be disappointed when you don't have patronage at the start. Refuse to be discouraged. It's not about you, it's about the environment. Because if you understand this background, you understand you have the environment awareness, right? Your social awareness, it helps you. Then secondly, build one person after the other. Build credibility with one person after the other. So for me, I would say that go overboard in giving quality service at unusual degree. Service at an unusual degree for an individual. And then, as much as possible, if you have to, give an incentive to that person to talk about you, do so. It will be better for you, for your customer, people who have experiences with your product and services, to talk about you than for you to talk about you yourself in the media space. Because what that does to you is that whenever such a client agrees to talk about you, such a person, you're leveraging on the credibility of your client, right? To, bring in more market opportunities for yourself and to close the radius of your business development. That is key. And then thirdly, your ecosystem, as much as possible, be open to them. Be open to your ecosystem. I mean, your friends, your family, your associates, be open to them about the state of your business and how you want them to come in for you. And be open, to them in terms of, letting them know that you have a weakness and then you want them to come in for you. And assure them that you'll be accountable to them. So I call that informal board, right? Informal board. And you don't necessarily have to wait till they come to you before you go and account, to them on the reference you have through them, right? See, over time, it is the aggregation and accumulation of those people's, who are talking about you that makes your brand, your service and product, go viral. And, I remember of a young chap, he's late now, who is into shoe making, that eventually got the attention of the vice president of Nigeria. And he got, vice president attention, and then he patronized him, right? He patronized the product of the company, and that company, never remained the same. So your ecosystem is very, very important. I mean, your associates, your friends, you need to leverage that relationship, because honestly, nobody is going to place a bet on you except the people closest to you. That's it. And once you achieve that, you need to now tell the story of the quality you have offered your client base. Once your clients are beginning to tell your story and you're seeing the traction, you need to now tell the story, the narratives of your client experience with you. With that, you begin to build credibility, and then your trust capital begins to improve. And then you see it becoming, something that is very indispensable to your business growth. Then lastly, mind your hiring. You have to mind the people you hire. No matter how competent the person is, once that character deficiency is there, please, take it out.
To destroy what has been built.
Yes, exactly. One front desk officer can make a mess of all your capital, all your efforts. So I will stop there for now.
These are powerful nuggets. I mean, I'll be able to capture, you are saying 3, 4, I'll capture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
really?
9. 9 nuggets from that alone. And that is really, really germane for anyone who is building business. I mean, this is coming straight from someone who has worked with many SMEs, who has built company himself, and that is the best place. There's this saying that says that the secret of men is in their stories, right? You're able to pick 1 or 2 things that is responsible for how or for the kind of results that people are seeing and appreciate in the life of someone. Now, 2 or more questions, and I'll release Victor this day, because I know this is like a hot seat. Now, considering how you've come this far over the years, you have built capital, you have built law of resourcefulness, you have built models, templates. Will you be open to something that enables you to kind of replicate your experience to others, so that by virtue of the things that you have done, if it is chronicled or captured into modules or a special course or program, right? People will be able to, they call, there's this thing about mentors. Mentors shorten the lifespan that you need to get to a particular point because they'll be able to capture it. So, for example, in this trajectory that you've gone through, will you be open to something that captures everything into a kind of steps? Like, for example, what you've just shared now, right? If somebody were to sit down with you, maybe for a few weeks course on just this last question I asked, that one is enough for somebody to avoid the mistakes and build a company fund, right? So, and there are so many other nudges like that can develop into. Will you be open to something that enables you to replicate this thing in a way that a lot of people can gain and avoid the kind of failures? Because one thing I've noticed about business is that there's this statistic that says within 5 years, they crash. And it is because people don't know what to do. Will you open to something like that?
Yes, that's exactly. I can say it's something that I'm already doing, but at what scale, it could be small. But I have a team already that we're looking at, especially my wife. My wife is an FCCA, and then for everything that I do, she's involved. And then we are learning partners, and then we consult together. I mean, we treat cases together.
Right.
We engage, startups together.
Right.
And then we have different story from different SME.
Yeah.
But the summary of that, just to align with what you've said, is that finance is not so much, capital to run business is not so much a problem as much as the management skill.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, and for me personally, it's something I'm open to, especially in terms of affecting businesses growth in the continent Africa, because we have a lot of informal sector in Nigeria.
Yeah.
With people putting a lot of efforts, but the business is not growing. Not so much because they are not hardworking, but simply because they don't know what to do part-time. They don't even understand the business model. They don't even understand their markets. Their financials are also, they don't even have financial statement. So for every opportunity I see in that regard, I embrace it, because I know the more we grow a business after in a business and another business and another business, the more we put people out of unemployment, and then the more we're able to create wealth. So awesome. I'm open to that.
Awesome. The reason why I asked that question is because people have asked me, Lanre, what's the end game for Mentors Lounge? Is it just going to be interviewing mentors? Will you be bringing people to be able to have access to mentors or things like that? But like, you're a man of faith. I'm also a man of faith. This thing did not just happen like a brainwave that came to me. No. Mentors Lounge came to being via an inspiration that I got. That was around November 2020. So I documented it in my Evernote. But July 2021, last year, there was a pressure from me, on me, like, this is a time to start. And that is how Mentors Lounge started in August 2021. But before the end of last year, that was the next phase that was revealed to me. Like, you need to bring this thing to a level where you want to democratize success. Put the structure in place that will bring these mentors to create structured models where people can learn practically what they'll be doing. And that is why at the last interview of the Mentors Lounge, where I hosted the founder, CEO of what they call Giddy Cookout and Pappy's Grill in the UK. I mentioned for the first time on Mentors Lounge that Mentors Lounge is going to evolve to Mentors Lounge University. And all mentors will now be coming to the Mentors Lounge University, and they will have programs that will structure their, this is now not somebody who is reading books or who is reading theory. No. People will now be able to learn straight from people who have got their hands dirty doing what they are saying. So you are not going to be learning from somebody who is doing trial and error. No. So in your own space, your own spaces, business development, growth of startups and all things like that. There are so many startups. And we all know that the growth of any country is driven by startups, especially exactly. The non-real sector. So that is the place, they call it the third sector in some places. So it is a space that has a lot of challenges. And so what's best way is to bring a structure, something that people can go through and say, look, instead of you making the mistakes of somebody that made for 5 years, you just go through this thing and you will have avoided all those things and you focus and be hitting things. And this thing will be a kind of catalyst for economic growth. That's why I asked that question, so that we know that we have Victor who can join us on that next phase.
I'll be glad.
Yeah. So we'll definitely be in touch with you on how the modalities of doing this thing is going to be. It's going to be a partnership, collaboration. Like you said, nobody is an island in the world today. It's all about collaborations. So on to the last question, which is, what is the final note that you have for somebody who is a young person or the teenager version of Victor? If Victor of today were to speak to the teenager of Victor several years ago, what will you be telling that teenager? Hey, I did this, you should have followed this path. What will you say? That's the final note on the Mentors Lounge today.
Well, the first thing is, I would say, be clear about your values. Be clear about your values. And then have it at the back of your mind and learn problem-solving skills. Be clear about your values and do everything possible to learn problem-solving skills. And, problem-solving skill is what has made Elon Musk who he is today. So if you understand that process towards solving problems and then you're clear about your values in life, it becomes very easy, not to walk in the shadow of anybody. And then it becomes easy for you to be ahead of your generation. So that is what I would say on the final note.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Victor. This has been a really powerful session indeed. I enjoyed every minute of this interview, and I must really thank you so much for sparing this about 49 minutes of your time to come on the Mentors Lounge. God bless you richly. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
So, my viewers who are on the Mentors Lounge watching this is Larry Lewis again, signing out on the Mentors Lounge. Bye for now.